This is Sydney Park, the end of Newtown, King Street, and it used to be a brick pit. And here's a sign about a green space project, the regional green space, and Bob Carr's name's down the bottom of the thing. We used to make a lot of the buildings around Sydney, and then they closed that, brick pits, and the company or whatever, or the body that owned it all said, well, okay, we'll donate this to the government, provided it's made into a park. And so that's Sydney Park. So that's, you know, in the 80s they did that, and there's no question it's a fabulous park. But they've kept some of the industrial background to it, so you can see that you can see where it came from, and so at least they stopped it from being turned into Westfields. They wouldn't have allowed that to happen. Well, that's that tells you why they actually built this park, because the houses couldn't survive anymore under the flight path of the third runway that one Paul Keating PM brought in against Labor policy. They said they were going to build a second airport. Unfortunately, they're building it at Badgerys Creek still, middle of Liverpool. So here we are for sale. This is one of the houses that didn't want to be acquired, but they're selling it all the same, and it has park front opportunity. This, for people know, low aircraft noise party, figured this would become just a truck route and we widen. It still can happen, I guess. And there's an art gallery on the other end of this main street. So there you go. Another one over to the park, and they'd be coming every few minutes. Usually, except for the pandemic.
Consultative committee met. It was on the 28th of September 95, the day after the demolition of houses in Sydenham began. The library used to be the busiest part of the neighbourhood centre here in Sydenham. That was until across the road there was a battle to save houses from demolition because of the airport. That meeting, 28th of September, was the last chance for the community to stop the government demolitions.
In the first part of that meeting, which was held some 2 weeks beforehand, I made a proposition, which was rejected by the committee. Yes. And that was that it be stopped for 28 days, pending proper consultation. So don't level at that meeting. The committee decided against that. Why? Well, I'm just telling you the facts.
We know that.
Who asked that?
So Joe Reason's committee had made this decision weeks ago. Meanwhile, on the barricades,
You all know it, but no noise. No noise. Just going to say a few words to it. Thank you. I'm a no aircraft noise councillor of Barrington Council. I must say that what distresses me today, what makes me so furious, is I ask, what sort of planning is it that takes perfectly livable houses, takes a community of people, some of whom have been here for 40, 50, 60 years, and says, you go, we'll leave the planes to ruin your lives. We'll leave the planes here to ruin the lives of all the people who surrounding this area who are living at the end of the street there, who are living across the road here, people whose houses have not been acquired. And I ask, what sort of obscene haste is it that has to have these houses down and removed before there's any chance of consultation with the residents? Where people say, well look, we'll knock them down and we'll have a park, and yet supposedly these houses are unfit for human habitation, but the park is, where they demolished them, and yesterday where they chopped down the trees. What sort of park is it going to be? Yeah. Really, we all know in our hearts that it's not going to be a park at all. That really they're just laying the ground to build a truck route from Sydenham Road through to the airport. And that means that the congestion that this suburb suffers, that all of Marrickville suffers, will just continue. That the people who live here
residents preferred to have the demolition rather than have vacant houses boarded up like that. I think somebody described it as a moon state with all sorts of properties.
Slaves! Working for the dole, slaves! There you saw St Peter's Town Hall where the meetings for the Community Advisory Committee on the noise plan for the new third runway were held. And that was just part of a 30-minute doco I made, and hours of the actual meetings I shot. I'm still trying to find those. That's the report, the one by the Community Advisory Committee, and it descended very much from the Federal Airports Corporation one, even on what the measurement of sound was. And one thing I raised, representing Unemployed People's Embassy on Event Cinemas, just the last cinema thing left, George Street down from Town Hall. There it is. It's obviously a theatre, and high-rise everywhere around, but so here we are. It's high-rise where the Regional Theatre used to be. Oh, look. So Sydney's lost just about all its theatres, only the Capital reviving the Royal one. But there is a theatre where McDonald's is now in George Street opposite the Event Cinema. And luckily McDonald's hasn't done anything to vandalise the foyer walls, which have got those, still got the decorations. So, but the council doesn't seem really interested in having a theatre. But we need theatres. Then we have restaurants, and then there's a reason to go to the city apart from work. Well, people can work from home now. So, but there's lots of transport infrastructure going through there. A tram, not many people use, doesn't go anywhere much. A bit like the monorail. But, you know, there's no kind of much accommodation around the city, and emphasising some of the attractions like Crown Street. We're making a video about that, corner of Devonshire Street, where the tram does go. People can come up from Central, and other places that people can visit.